What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yeah.
Nick, we got a striker's delight this weekend.
Yeah.
We are going to see the return of Yair Rodriguez. We have not seen him in the UFC's Octagon since October of 2019.
Wow.
So just over 2 years now. He's got a tough welcome back in Max blessed Holloway. Max is the heavy favorite here, almost minus 720 on some booking sites to a plus 500 for Yair Rodriguez. The odds maker is not giving Rodriguez much of a chance in his return here.
No, and Max Holloway being the big dog favorite makes a lot of sense. But Yair Rodriguez is a very electric fighter, and he was one of those guys that was coming up really hot with a lot of steam in the featherweight division. Him and Zabit, a couple of those guys. And then they just stop dead in their tracks, and then you kind of forget about them.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that the UFC put them right back in the fights that we thought they were slated for, 2 years ago when they kind of went on their hiatus. They didn't set them back into the high parts of the top 10 or the top 15 to ease them back in.
Right into a main event.
Right back where you thought you were headed, right into Max Holloway. And Max is just in a very unique position because he's sort of like Robert Whittaker, but of the featherweight division. He's got 2 losses to the guy, right?
Yeah.
Volkanovski is running the division. And even though a lot of people think Max won at least one of those fights, it's hard to fight 3 times in a row when you're 0-2 in the first. And so he's got a little bit of just like fun fights and gatekeeping to do at 145 before he becomes officially undeniable, and they do make the trilogy. So I really do like this fight. I think Max is the rightful favorite. I think Yair, though, is a really, really tough fighter for Max to be, just fighting for really nothing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you said that because it is essentially fighting for nothing to some degree, because Volkanovski actually said, look, I know I have 2 wins over Max, and I acknowledge how close both of those wins were. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, Max Holloway is the guy. He's the number 1 contender without this Yair fight.
Yeah.
So he didn't even have to take it. So Volk kind of gave him some props. It's like, hey, this is like a gangster move. This is like a real fighter's fighter type of move here because you didn't have to do this. But I think Max might be going in a slightly different direction because he's alluded now to a big fight if he wins this fight. And we all know that the Volkanovski fight, the trilogy, probably will materialize at some point, but that's not really an announcement that you keep close to the chest.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing Conor McGregor start to mention Max Holloway's name a little bit more. Yeah. And 145 is becoming a division where there's a lot of new blood. A lot of people are coming up and making a name for themselves and staking a claim for themselves. Max is one of those guys who could headline a pay-per-view if a title wasn't on the line. And so I think it starts to make sense if Max can get a dominant win over Yair here, and Conor McGregor needs a dance partner somewhere in the 4 to 6 month range from now. Why not let those 2 guys have it out? Max Holloway was just some young 21-year-old kid who was tough that Conor couldn't finish back in the day. History told us how great Max truly is, and he's one of the few people that Conor has beaten but not finished. And so I think if he wins this fight, he's setting his sights squarely on Conor, letting Volk shake out whatever he's going to do at 145 and possibly coming back to fight him later. But I think this is a matchup that really favors Holloway.
Yeah, and Conor McGregor kind of can do whatever he wants. He's in that sort of stage where if we kind of caught wind that he was going after one of the Diaz brothers, that would make sense. If you hear that he's going against Max Holloway, that makes sense. If he finds himself right in the mix with a Michael Chandler or somebody else in the sort of the top 5 of 155, that makes sense. So I feel like Conor is always sitting back waiting for the chips to fall, and then he sort of, points his direction wherever he wants to go, and then that's his target, and then he sets in on it. I like the Max Holloway fight. I think that Conor might be a little bit cautious to go and give these guys rematches after what happened with the Dustin Poirier thing. He was 1-0 against Dustin. It would have been nice just to chalk it up as Conor's always going to be better than Dustin. Yep. But then Dustin got the rematch, got the revenge, got the win. And then he went and fought him again, and now he's got 2 wins over Conor. So now nobody considers Conor McGregor to be a better fighter than Dustin Poirier. And while he does have a little bit of cushion with Max Holloway, if he loses this fight, he goes, all right, I gave you your rematch, now I want mine. I don't know if he wants to go 1-2 in multiple trilogies. And then let's not forget he's got the Nate Diaz trilogy later in his career. What if he goes 1-2 in 3 different trilogy fights? He's fighting 3 different guys for a total of 9 fights. That's kind of insane.
Yeah.
And also with him growing so much, I feel like his next fight's going to be at 170. Something just tells me with the size that he's been putting on, and it could be, Photoshop. Who knows how much he actually weighs right now. But if I had to guess, he's somewhere in the high 70s, low 180 range, right? Maybe right at 180. And I don't see him making anything close to 145. I think 55 is a good weight for him to still make. But it seems to me like he's so advanced and far along in his career that he's just not really into weight cutting anymore. He'll find somebody that wants a big payday, make the thing happen at 170, and go about his business up there.
Yeah, for sure. No, if he fights Max, it for sure will not be at 145. It would be 55 or potentially even 70. Max is a tall guy. But getting back now to the fight that's happening at 145, because Max has a very tough test in front of him here. Yair Rodriguez. We'll try to make some predictions here.
Yeah.
I think the odds makers have this one right. I think that Max Holloway is going to win this fight. What you're going to see out of Yair Rodriguez is the more unconventional striking. Mm-hmm. You're going to see the flying knees. You're going to see the spinning elbows. You're going to see the wheel kicks. You're going to see all kinds of things that look entertaining. And out of Max, you're going to see really damn good fundamental boxing and a pace that is unmatched. And I think when you start to get wild on somebody like Max, who's so crisp, so accurate, and so long for the weight division, you start to open yourself up to get countered. Max is not one that's going to walk into a spinning elbow. Max is not going to walk in to a flying knee that takes him out. I just don't see that happening. I see Max coming forward, throwing big shots, moving very well, using a lot of feints, getting Yair to kind of react and show Max what it is he's looking for, and then start to pick him apart from there. I'm looking for a Max Holloway finish in the 4th round. I think that Yair, 2 years off, he's not going to be able to keep up with the pace. Max is better technically all around, even though he doesn't throw as crazy of stuff as there's something to be said for a mastery of the basics, and Max certainly has that. I mean, the guy was slipping shots while he was talking to DC against Calvin Kattar. A lot of people who touted him as one of the best boxers in the division. So I see Max Holloway, due to accumulation, pace, and accuracy, piling onto Yair and getting him out of there in the 4th round. TKO.
Yeah, I could see that. The ring rust is going to be a real thing. When you're a electric striker like Yair, you rely heavily on your timing and your placement and your speed and all that stuff. And he's going to have to shake it out a little bit in the first couple of rounds. And I think that could leave him behind on the scorecards. And that might lend him to think he needs to go a little bit harder later in the fight and maybe risk it and wind up putting himself in a worse position against Max Holloway, who does know how to finish really well. I don't see any way for Yair to finish this fight. Max is too tough. 145 is his division. His chin really doesn't seem like it's diminishing. Maybe in the years to come it will, but he's still so young that I don't really see him getting finished in this fight. I kind of am leaning towards this going to decision, but Max could get the finish. I don't want to land right on the 4th round or something like you. So if I'm going to be conservative and I want to get the guess and the prediction right, I'm going to go 5 rounds, 49-46, or maybe a clean sweep for Max Holloway. But I think that if you're a betting person, at the plus 500 that you're seeing Yair at, it's hard not to throw some money his way, because even though he's not a one-punch knockout type of guy, he does have really good trick shots that can really stun his opponents, and then he can get the finish on a TKO or something like that. So at plus 500, you might as well throw some money if you're into the betting world. But I wouldn't put money on it because I think Max Holloway is going to win, and I think it just sets him up for another big fight after this. Not sure if it's McGregor. Who knows really who it's going to be, but either way, sign me up. Anytime Max plus Holloway's in the Octagon, it's can't miss TV because he's so exciting. You got to love him, right? Everybody loves Max Holloway, so I'm excited.
He's one of my favorite fighters to watch. Yeah. I mean, he really, no matter win, lose, or draw, he puts on an incredible show. And I would be inclined as well to take Yair at the plus 500, even though I think Max is going to win. It might be a nice little gamble at plus 500. But the thing that keeps sticking out to me is 4 knockouts in 13 wins.
Yeah.
he doesn't have that electrifying power. You know, he's had some really crazy trick shots, as you said, that have landed, and they're not really trick shots. They're shots that he's timed well and practiced in the gym, and he lands them effectively. But they're shots that a seasoned veteran like Max Holloway will see coming, and I don't think he's just going to be roped into getting clipped by a trick shot. So I just don't see – I see Yair's only way to win this fight is to finish Max, because Max is going to accumulate so many shots. We already know – he's probably going to throw close to 600-700 punches in this 5-round fight if it goes all 5 rounds. And I just don't think Yair can keep the pace. So I think that his only way is by finish. And you're talking about that at that point, finishing one of the toughest guys in the history of the UFC to finish.
Not going to happen.
That's for sure. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Drop us a comment. Let us know who you're picking for this great fight night main event. And if you haven't already, a like and subscribe to the channel is always much appreciated and helps us both out tremendously. So until the next one, guys, we hope you have a wonderful day.
Peace.